Working for the NHS is a great way to start your career, either as an overseas registered nurse wishing to migrate to the UK or someone who has recently qualified here in the UK. In today's video, I'm going to share with you some of the benefits you enjoy as an NHS employee. There are certain things I did not even know until recently, so I will urge you on to watch till the end and also forward to anybody who is dreaming of coming to the UK to work for the NHS, or somebody who is even living here in the UK working for the NHS for several years and did not even know some of these. Stay tuned to the end and continue to support the channel by subscribing and also share with anybody who is on this journey of migrating to the UK. So the first thing I would like to talk about is their shift pattern as a registered nurse. I'll be talking more from a nurse point of view because it will make more people relate, because I believe most of my colleagues out there are dreaming of migrating to the UK to work as a nurse. So you need to bear in mind that their shift pattern is 12 hours. Unlike back home where we used to doing early shift, late shift, or night shift, or we call it morning, afternoon. So if you're working in the morning, you go at 8, you close at 2, and if you are working in the afternoon, you go at 2 and then you close at 8. It's not like that over here. So over here in the UK, they do the 12 hours shift pattern. So if you are doing a long day, you start from maybe 7 o'clock up till 7 o'clock in the evening. If it's 7:30, it will be up to 7:30 in the evening. So bear that in mind and have it at the back of your mind that it's not a joke, honestly, doing this 12-hour shift. It can be so exhausting, it can be so draining, patients can be so demanding. So you need to bear that in mind and strengthen yourself psychologically, mentally and emotionally for this. Otherwise you might not even survive just one 12-hour shift. But it is doable if I have been able to do it, and I bet you can do it. And within the next few months, you'll be doing extra shifts. Sometimes it takes a while, but then you get used to it. So just bear in mind that the shift pattern is not the ones we are used to back home, like doing half days and all that. It is 12 hours, but then you don't work 12 hours for the whole week. You do 3 long days and you still have like 4 days in between. So imagine doing 3 long days and sometimes doing 4. In a whole month you have 4 weeks, right? So in 3 weeks you do 3 long days, and in 1 week you do 4 long days. So in the weeks that you are doing 3 long days, you realize that you have about 4 days off, and in these 4 days you can decide to do extra shifts, or you can just relax, have time with your family, or even for yourself to re-energize yourself for the rest of the week. In my previous video, I mentioned how I discussed how you can make extra money. So talking about these days you have in between, you can use those hours to do extra shifts, either with your own hospital, with your own ward, or you can even register with an agency. I'll leave the link to that video so that you can watch that and see how best you can maximize your income by doing extra shifts in these days that you are off. Another exciting thing about working for the NHS, especially if you are working as a nurse, is they pay you an enhancement. They call it enhancement for the unsocial hours. So what this means is, if you work on the weekends, you tend to get paid a little more than if you work on a weekday. I mean, weekends are so precious to people, and everybody obviously want to have fun with their family, go out to chill and all that. So they tend to like pay you a little extra if you work on a weekend or if you work on a night. So you realize that you may be on the same ward with a colleague, but they might get a little bit higher in terms of salary than what you will get, especially if your shift pattern happens to be only in the weekdays. So for instance, if you are doing 3 long days this week and you happen to do those 3 long days on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and someone else also does maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you realize that the person who did shift on the weekends will get paid a little more at the end of the month than you, because he did weekends. And also if somebody does nights, they are likely to get paid a little more. It's unfortunate we don't have control over the rota, so you can't decide to do weekends alone or do nights alone. So it's up to the managers to do the rota. So if you're lucky and most of your shift happen to be on the weekends, then you definitely get extra money than someone who did just the weekends. Because of this, you get different salaries every month. The salaries are never the same. Unless, of course, your shifts are fixed Monday to Friday, then you are assured of getting a fixed amount. But if you are in the ward as a nurse doing shift work, like working long days, nights, mixed up with nights, weekends, expect different salaries all the time. And don't expect to get the same salary as what you could. Another wonderful thing I love about the NHS is their annual leave. So in some organizations, you don't get so many weeks annual leave as when you are working for the NHS. So when I started working here, I think I started towards the end of the year. So I wasn't expecting even to have annual leave, because even back home in some organization, you'd have to work at least for a certain number of years before you would even be entitled to for annual leave. I was surprised that when I started working, about a month later, my manager called me and was like, "You've not applied for any annual leave." So I was like, "What?" I started working like 2 months ago and they're going to give me annual leave. I was so surprised. So in a year, everybody is entitled to 262 hours of annual leave, and that amounts to about 7 weeks. I wasn't expecting to have like 7 weeks in a whole year, because I thought I had started working for this NHS not long ago. So I was just hoping to get like 2 or 3 weeks annual leave. No. If the financial year starts from April to March. So from April to March, you are entitled to 7 weeks. I started in November. So I think calculating from November to March, I was entitled to 3 weeks. I was so surprised. I wasn't expecting it at all. So with that 7 weeks, normally they don't allow you to take the whole of the 7 weeks. At least after every quarter, they allow you to take at least a week or 2. And if you want to travel outside the country back to Africa to visit your family, they can consider and let you take at least 3 or 4 weeks in total. Managers don't normally want 2 or 3 or 3 or more nurses to go on annual leave at the same time. Otherwise, there will be shortage. So at least the minimum they allow is 2 nurses on annual leave at a time. So bear that in mind. And before we begin every financial year, just have it in mind when you like to have your annual leave, and apply ahead of time so that your annual leave doesn't clash with other people's annual leave, and then they will tell you to wait until somebody comes back before you go and all that. And also, you need to make sure before the financial year ends in March, try and apply for your annual leave, exhaust all of it, because they will not allow you to carry it over unless in exceptional case. I remember during the COVID time, the managers wanted everybody to be in the ward working, so they did not allow people to take annual leave, because that was when they really needed people on board. So in those cases, they allowed you to carry your annual leave over, because they themselves allow you not to take it. So in those cases, at least you're allowed to take it to the next year, but normally it's not allowed. So before the year ends, just make sure you exhaust all your annual leave, and the annual leave is paid for. And also in this annual leave, you can also take on extra shifts if you want to get more money. So another benefit of working for the NHS is opportunities for career growth. So most of us, especially those of us who have migrated from overseas, we always have this mindset that the opportunities are not for us. But no, it's never true. So when you go to some hospitals, you realize that most of our own people are in top positions. There are always opportunities for career growth in the NHS, because if you go to one particular ward, you always see different nurses coming in with different specialties. So you ask yourself, how did they get there? So once you come here and you start as a band 5, don't limit yourself. Don't think you can't get there, or don't think you can never get to where they've gotten to, irrespective of wherever you're coming from. No. It's up to you to just put yourself out there. Don't limit yourself to your own ward. I always say that whenever you are off, try and do extra shift in other wards. Don't limit yourself to your own ward. Otherwise, you never learn anything new. The more you go out there, the more you interact with people, the more you go to other wards to see what they are doing. You get to meet nurses from different specialties. They will definitely give you advice on how to get into any nursing specialties, because honestly, the bedside can be very stressful, and I believe that most of us have done a lot of it way back before we even came here. So it's up to us once we get here to take advantage of the opportunities to develop ourselves career-wise and not limit ourselves at all. If you stay at one place, you never know the opportunities that are in other places. If you happen to be in a ward that you don't like, don't be scared to move. Don't limit yourself in a ward that you don't like working. Don't stay there. Just explore what is done in other wards and be prepared to take the step to migrate to other wards, see what is done over there. And for all you know, that is where you meet somebody who will like be your role model, who will lead you to that actual career path. Because honestly, the bedside can be very, very stressful. It can be very, very stressful. You just have to bear that in mind even before you come. There are times when you come when you feel like, oh my God, this is so much, this is too much, I can't take it anymore. But that should not discourage you at all. This should rather motivate you and push you to look for other opportunities. NHS is always interested in developing their staff. So I remember I received an email from my manager, and I think that email went out to everybody that there is £1,000 funding for anybody who is interested in pursuing any course that they are interested in. So that is why I would advise you not to stay in your own ward, because the more you go to other wards to see what they are doing, just take bank shift in other wards. What I mean by bank shift, like doing overtime in other wards. Obviously, get paid for that, you learn as well. And at least it will help you develop an interest in an area that you never thought you would have an interest in. And once you develop this interest, at least you can take advantage of this funding that is available. So I have £1,000 waiting for me somewhere. I don't even know the course that I want to do, but at least definitely I'll think of something. And once I develop an interest in that area, I just have to apply, notify my manager, and they'll be willing to sponsor me for this course. This will actually help the NHS. So they're always interested in developing their staff. So just take advantage of the career opportunities. And if you are yet to migrate here, just have it in mind that you are not coming here to stay at one place. I know people who have stayed at one ward for over 10 years and they are not developing themselves. They are still at band 5 and they've been at band 5 for 10 years. So if you are young, energetic, I don't think that's a good thing for you, especially when you're in a foreign country. Just try your best and push forward as much as you can. So another interesting thing about the NHS is that, as I mentioned earlier, they have so many nursing specialties. So for instance, if you go to a gastrointestinal ward, I always use that gastro ward because that is where I started working. So I realized that there were always specialty nurses coming in, like palliative care nurses. Palliative care nurses are those who look after those who are patients who are getting towards end of life. I used to see IBD nurses, stoma nurses. So there are so many nursing specialties within the NHS that if you happen not to like the bedside, you can always divert. There is also community nursing in the NHS. So if you don't like the bedside anymore, if you think the hours are way too stressful for you, if you think you cannot work around your family life, your personal life, or even childcare issues, you always have the option to branch into community nursing. So even in the community nursing, they have specialties like diabetic nurses. They look after patients who have been discharged from the hospital. They have issues with diabetes, monitoring or controlling their blood sugar. They also have tissue viability nurses. They look after those who have chronic wounds. And so all you need to do is to, if you want the community nursing, just to have a driving license. So once you get here, just try and work around getting your driving license as soon as possible, so that even if you realize that bedside is not for you, at least there's always that option of going into community nursing. So I did a previous video in which I discussed the things you need to do before you migrate to the UK. So talking about this nursing specialties, if you realize that the bedside might not be something that you would enjoy, before you migrate, try and get an international driving license before you come here. And with that international driving license, you'll be able to drive for at least a year before you apply for the UK driving license. So if you work for some time at the bedside, you realize that is not for you, you always have that option of branching into community nursing, which I believe you will definitely love as well. So I love the fact that you are not limited to a particular area. There is always room for you to divert to any other specialty that you enjoy. So another exciting benefit of working for the NHS is maternity leave. I believe the ladies will be so much interested in this part. Yes, obviously, you need that time off for yourself, for the baby, when the baby comes. So in some countries, I know that you expected to go back to work like after 3 or 4 months, they're expecting you back. So in the NHS, you're allowed to take 52 weeks of maternity leave. You don't get the salary for the whole of the 52 weeks, but at least there is a breakdown of how much you're going to get throughout that 52 weeks of maternity leave. So I will leave the link below so that you can have a look and have the breakdown of how much you get paid at each point during the maternity leave. So one thing I know is, at least for the first 8 weeks you get full pay, and then the next 18 weeks you get half pay, and then I think the last 13 weeks is unpaid. So there is a breakdown of the amount of money you get at each point, but then you can confidently have that 52 weeks at home for yourself, for the baby. You don't lose your job. Definitely your work will be waiting for you back. They will even be more than happy to have you back, because NHS is always short of staff, so they'll always be willing to have you back. But you don't get it in some organizations, because by the time you return to work, your vacancy has already been given to someone else. But in NHS, it's not like that. So there is also that benefit of enjoying that full 52 weeks of maternity leave. And by the time you are expected to return to work, at least you know that you have the strength, you are re-energized to go back to work. So I believe most people are still wondering as to whether to work for the NHS or work for any other organization. I believe every organization have their own benefits, but I'm speaking in terms of the NHS because I have worked for them and I know the benefits. So I don't even think I've exhausted it all, because I believe there are so many other opportunities or benefits that I'm yet to discover, which I'll definitely share it once I get to know of them. So I hope this will guide you in your decision as to whether to migrate over here and work for the NHS or work for any other organization. So having talked about all the benefits you enjoy working for the NHS, in my next video, I'm going to talk about how you can secure a job with the NHS. Now, it has been a struggle for most people, because years ago, you would only have to submit your CV to the agency and they will do everything for you, set up an interview for you with the hospital. And the next thing you know is you've already had the job offer. But now, WHO has come with a policy that developed countries should not recruit health workers from developing countries, most especially during the pandemic. So now the agencies are a bit skeptical with this recruiting thing. So because of that, most people are struggling to get a job. You now have to apply directly to the NHS. People have complained that they are not getting any feedback from the hospitals they have applied to. So there could be a reason, and I've come up with certain things I would like to share with you, discuss with you, and hopefully that would help you in your job search with the NHS. I believe this has been very, very useful, and this is an eye-opener for anybody who is now wishing to migrate to the UK to work with the NHS, or even some people have already been here for so many years and they don't know about some of these benefits. So I believe this will be very, very useful, and please share with others and keep subscribing to support this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye.